Welcome to Hustle System. My name is Mikhail and I help people master their mindset, build a better business, and help you live your life on your terms. In this video, I'm going to talk about how to deal with overwhelm, stress, and how to rewire your brain for success. But before we dig in, please subscribe to the channel if you have not yet subscribed. And if you have subscribed but have not yet clicked the notification bell, please click that so you can be notified when I upload more awesome videos like this one. So let's dig in. How did this come up? Well, I recently had one of my younger staff members ask me, Mikhail, I've got a lot coming at me, man. I don't know how to deal with this. This is super duper stressful. And those of you that are watching, you've probably experienced this, where you wake up and you feel like there's so much to do that there's no way you're gonna get all that done that day, maybe even that week, or maybe even that month. It always feels like there's more to do than you have time to do, and you're always a little bit behind. And what that creates is this idea of you're constantly stressed, right? Because you're never enough. You're never accomplishing what you, quote, need to accomplish. And from my personal experience, there's only one solution to this. And it's really, really different from what you might expect. So I found that the best way to deal with the stress of overwhelm is to not experience the stress of overwhelm. Okay, now you're probably like, wait, that makes no sense. And I'm gonna explain what that means. See, what happens when you get stressed is your body releases a chemical called cortisol, this stress hormone. So if you wake up and you got all this stuff to do and you're stressed out, well, cortisol has certain effects. It kind of shuts down your ability to get things done. It's a survival chemical that has allowed us to survive in times when we needed stress, AKA if you are chased by a tiger, your body should be able to do whatever it takes to get away from the tiger. And so it triggers this cortisol mechanism. But the thing is, it's not really adaptive to the current environment in which we live. And so the advice that I gave my young staff member was, you have to rewire your brain. And that's what I want to talk about in this video, because once I was able to rewire my brain to not experience cortisol, but experience dopamine instead of cortisol when faced with challenges, that is when I started to make really fast progress, and the progress became effortless. And I know what you're thinking. You're like, Mikhail, you're telling me that running all these companies and doing all this stuff is effortless for you? Yes, that is exactly what I'm telling you. And it's kind of weird, and it's kind of funky, and it's totally outside of the scope of the normal, hustle and experience the pain kind of phenomenon. And of course, I still go back into stress sometimes. But then I remember, oh, wait, brain, trigger the right chemical, please. And it goes, dude, you get to experience something really cool. You got something really awesome going on here. You get to do this. And that's where I want to start. You get to do this. Okay? Really let me walk you through this here, because this one shift will completely transform your performance across the board, across every single avenue in your life. Your work, your relationships, your physical fitness, everything will shift and become easy and fun, and you will get just exponential results. Okay, so as you realize, you get to do this. When you wake up in the morning, you ever have that where you wake up, you're like, oh, I gotta do a bunch of stuff today, I don't wanna do it. Ever have that? Okay, right away, you're telling your mind, create resistance. You are telling yourself, please create resistance for me today. Don't make it easy. I have to do stuff, as if somebody's forcing you to do it. Nobody's forcing you to do anything. You get to do stuff. You get to live another day on this amazing planet. Okay? The fact that we're even here is a mathematical improbability. You really understand that, right? How utterly insane it is that we're on a rock flying around a giant ball of fire in the cosmic universe that we live. It's insane. Okay? If you really realize what was going on, it would blow your freaking mind. Okay, so stop worrying about stuff. Doesn't really matter. Wake up and go, wow, I get to experience. And that applies to the good and the, quote, bad things. And I put it in quotations because those are just labels. Whatever happens to you is meant to happen to you. Otherwise, you wouldn't be you. Okay, I'll put myself on the hot seat here. If I didn't have the breakups that I had and the brutal heartbreaks in my life, I wouldn't be here right now talking to you. And how great is it that we get to do this together? We get to rewire our brains to not experience stress And when a challenge comes up, we go, wow, I get to face this challenge. And it might be something really brutal. It might be death of a family member. It might be, financial difficulties. It might be health difficulties. But if you've rewired your brain, it's not bad anymore. You get to experience that thing and you find the joy in that experience, no matter how painful. Right? A good example is jujitsu. Those of you that have ever done martial art, is jujitsu can be very physically painful. Okay, you get choked out, right? And you're all bruised and like you could like totally mess your joints up. It's pretty cool stuff. Right? But you get to experience it. So life is the same way. And that's the advice that I gave my young staff member here, is rewire your brain. Now, how do you do that? Okay, let's get to the down and dirty practical here of how do you actually rewire your brain. Now, this piece of advice, I'm gonna kind of put a caveat here. First off, I am not responsible for any negative side effects as a result of you trying this. And number two is maybe there's another way that I haven't found yet, but this was the way that I found, okay? And it's ironically enough, not the easiest path. It's actually, well, I'll just give you the answer. It's you have to break yourself. So, and follow along with me here. So where we are now, in society, everything's really comfy. Okay, we have everything. There's no tigers chasing us. There's no lions. There's really very little immediate biological pressure. And so it doesn't create the requirement for you to evolve. It doesn't create the pressure cooker for you to evolve. And so it's very easy to just sit on your couch, watch TV, and do nothing, because you can. And you can have a mediocre life, and your mediocre life is going to be better than like the life of a king. If you were to rewind back a couple hundred years, your mediocre life is significantly better than that of royalty, of like the best person on the planet several hundred years back. So it's no wonder we're not really that driven, and people have trouble with motivation. And so the best way that I found to have this rewiring is to completely break your biology. It's a biological stimuli, which means it requires a biological input and output. Okay? If you are triggering stress, cortisol, your body's doing that. Your body is doing that. Your mind's telling your body, I'm going to be stressed now. I don't want to go into work, so I'm going to choose to be stressed on my drive to work, and then I'm going to be stressed all day, and then I'm coming home. And that's why people age, right? And that's why people look miserable half the time. And the only way I found to break out of this is to say, okay, I've got a lot on my plate. How can I put more on? Whew, stress, because I've been very, very open about this. I've had situations where I'm so stressed out, I've thought about committing suicide. And this is why this video is so important for me, because hopefully, even if it's just one of you watching this, you're like, I'm under a lot of pressure. I have maybe a lot of schoolwork, maybe a lot of work, or maybe I'm trying to start a business and there's too much on my plate. Maybe it helps you, okay, that somebody else went through this and came out on the other side. And the way that I got through it was I put myself under so much biological pressure. My body realized that if it stayed in cortisol, it would die. Okay, really, really track with me here for a moment. So I had too much on my plate, I put more on my plate. I had way too much on my plate, I put more on my plate. And I kept doing it, and I kept doing it, and I stayed consistent. And I mean, full disclosure, I would have emotional breakdowns. I would go into the shower, and I would crawl into the fetal position, and I would go, I don't want to get out of the shower because there's so much to do. You ever have that where you just don't want to get out of bed in the morning because there's so much to do, or you don't want to do XYZ because like it's just feels like it's too much sometimes. You guys ever have that? And I want you to know it's okay. Like, it's okay. You're not alone in that. I've 100% been there myself. And I just remember this moment. We were doing a product launch. At the time, I was with a company. I was doing 7 figures per month, and I was responsible for all of the marketing in the company, which is a huge amount of pressure. And then I was also responsible for locating the cash flow on the back end as well. So it was insane, like insane amounts of pressure. You've got people that rely on you to perform, and you can't fail. And I guess that's what I'm getting at is put yourself in a situation where you're under so much pressure that failure is unacceptable, right? Like Michael Jordan can't fail. He put himself into such a headspace that he's like, I cannot fail period. So what do I have to do to win? Because our environment's not going to do that. Our environment is going to allow us to be cozy. It's going to allow us to be comfortable. It's going to allow us to be mediocre if we choose to. But if we load ourselves up with weights and we say, I'm going to lift the weight, and you go, that's heavy. Wow. But you know what? Next time you come in, you go, well, it's a little lighter. It's a little lighter. It's a little lighter. But the problem is if you never load that weight up, you're going to get really used to lifting that little bit of weight, and you're never going to grow. So what you have to do is continuously stack the weight on, and you have to break your biology. So what happened was there was a moment I was in the shower. I was like, I don't want to get out. And I mean, this is like, it's embarrassing to share this. I'm a grown man sharing this with the world. I mean, that takes a great deal of courage and strength. And I would crawl into the fetal position and crank the water as hot as I could. And I would just lay there and I would think about the hundreds upon hundreds of things that I had to do within very short time frames. And I would try and comprehend how I was going to execute on those things. And the puzzle wasn't sticking. Like, I couldn't make the puzzle work. Like, there was no speed or optimization point or anything I could do to play that fast. It's like playing like speed Tetris while playing, speed poker, while playing speed chess all at the same time in a 3-dimensional quantum realm. It was like just insane. It was like on another level. And so there was just a moment where I was so stressed out. My body was shutting down. My psychology was shutting down. I wasn't able to problem solve effectively. And I totally broke down. I totally broke down, and I just let loose. And I mean, again, I just cried. I just lay there in the shower, and I cried because I didn't know what to do. Like, what do? Everything rests on your shoulders, and you feel like you can't carry the weight, and you're gonna let everybody else down. You're gonna let yourself down, and there's more weight constantly being put on, like continuously. And that was when my body did something very, very weird, which, like, people ask me all the time, like, Mikhail, how are you so positive all the time? And it was really a big part of that was this moment where my body just said, no more stress. It just said, can't take it anymore, dude. Too much. And something just, it's like it's like a little regulator, like clicked. It broke. like the cortisol creation machine just was like click, and it like shut off, right? Which is pretty crazy to think about. And it just said, look, man, like, if you're gonna do this, like, can't deal with the stress because we're physically gonna die here. Dopamine, get excited. That task, get excited, go. And I remember getting out of the shower and I drank my mushroom coffee, and props to Four Sigmatic, sponsor me. And then I remember getting really excited. I was like, man, this is cool. All right, I felt free, I felt relief, I felt release. I felt that it was okay to fail, that it was good to exist. It wasn't stressful anymore, and I plowed through workload. I mean, at a pace I've never seen myself perform at, and I've kept up that pace very, very consistently since. And that's the big differentiator, is the cortisol doesn't trigger. It can be something really, really, quote, bad that happens, and I'm like, wow, we get to experience that. This is so cool. And people genuinely don't understand that. So hopefully this video helps you understand how to approach that, because it's made a massive difference in my life and in my happiness levels. I mean, I'm just happy, period. There's nothing that could happen. I could lose my arm, right? I could lose my arm and be like, oh, wow, that's crazy. I get to learn to do everything with this arm. That's cool, right? Whereas the average mentality would be, why is this happening to me? Victim mentality. I miss my arm, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I could get a bionic robot arm. Maybe that bionic robot arm could have a hot spot, so when I'm at parties, I can be I have a hot spot in my arm. Rewire your brain. And that's where the performance comes. That's the point where you wake up and you go, I get to do this, and it doesn't matter what's on your plate. It literally does not matter. You can put more on, 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 and you just eat it, right? You ever seen a bodybuilder eat food? They're just they just blaze through it because their body's metabolism is so effective, right? So this is the metabolism for your mind, this thought experiment. So, and I know that's not the probably like the healthiest advice to give people is to break yourself down. But that actually is the advice that I'm giving you in this video, is find a way to create so much stress and do it consciously. Say, I'm going to create so much stress in my life that my body will click off and say, I can't take this anymore. I cannot take it. It might be, you might be doing school, you might be doing college, you might be doing work, you might be running a business. It might be results that you want to experience in other areas. Load yourself up, because that's what strong people do. They put on the weight, and then they handle it. And again, this is not the easiest video to make, because it's very naked, it's very vulnerable. But this was something that, again, I had a young staff member ask me. He's over 10 years younger than I am, and this is something that I wish I understood at that age. I wish I understood, you know what? It's not stressful. It's a total illusion. Stress is an illusion you are creating for your mind because society has told you that it needs to be stressful. You should, like in a way, society's told you should hate your job. Like, you guys understand that, right? So why can't you come in and do it with passion and with excitement? Why can't you have boundless energy, infinite energy? Why can't you be precise because all your systems are dialed in all the time? Why does there have to be a dip, right? Why can't you be emotionally stable across the board and allow yourself for upwards momentums, but not for the big dips of depression, anxiety, self-doubt, self-consciousness? Think about it. Okay, this was the tip. How to rewire your psychology to where when you're put under pressure, your body releases dopamine instead of cortisol. This one trick, I promise you, with my life, okay? I'm like putting my life on the line here for you guys. This one adjustment in your life will transform everything. There is no magic pill. To get to the end result requires a very unique approach. It requires you to be able to tolerate a certain pain threshold for a certain amount of time before your actual body reacts to it. But once you've reacted, once you've switched, it's a catalyst that is a permanent change in your psychology, in your psyche. It will allow you to tackle projects with much greater efficiency and effectiveness, and will help you get the results in your life that you are looking for. As always, it's been Mikhail with Hustle System. I help people master their mindset, build a better business, and help you live your life on your terms. So you understand the psychology of performance, something we dive into very, very deeply in our mentoring program. So we're going to include a link down below this video. I highly recommend you check it out. If you enjoyed this video, please like and comment down below. I love you. Appreciate you. I'll see you in the next one.